How do we retrieve data from an Oracle database? In relational databases, there is a language called SQL, or Structured Query Language. In some circles, SQL is termed SQL. There isn't any difference. How do we get data from the database? In structured query language, we use a statement called the select statement. Note, when data is retrieved from a relational database, what you effectively retrieve are sets of data. The original philosophy behind SQL was to retrieve chunks of data, groups of data, or sets of rows. The original philosophy is not to retrieve a single row or make an exact hit like you would, for instance, in an object structure. However, SQL and relational databases have matured to the point where you can retrieve a single row or multiple rows. The way you retrieve a single row we will get into later on, but it's really not any different to the select statement other than the fact that you execute filtering onto the original select statement. So you'd go to a file with a select statement, a table, you'd retrieve rows, and you say, okay, out of all these rows, retrieve this particular row. Therefore, you get an individual row. Let's talk about the select statement a little bit. What does the select statement do? This is a very simple syntax diagram for the select statement. All I'm doing is I'm going to say select column expression or asterisk. Now what these brackets, the square bracket mistake, now what the square brackets mean is that optionally I can add any number, column, expression, or asterisk. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but we'll get into that later on. A column is a column in a table, and expression is a calculation, if you like, a thing in parentheses, a thing in brackets that says take this column, multiply it by 5, or take a part of the string in that column. Asterisk simply means retrieve all the columns from a table. And obviously we look to select rows from a table. The schema part here, schema name within the square brackets, means that schema dot is optional. It means I can retrieve data from a different schema from the one I'm logged in as. So if I'm logged in as system, I can go and select data from a table in concerts. So I would say select column, column, column from concerts dot act, for instance. As you can see from this diagram here, I have, for instance, a single schema table, the category table in the concert schema, sitting in the Oracle database. I would execute a select statement, which this is quite a complicated one for now, but we'll get onto that later, against the category table, and I would pull out some data. That's how the select statement works. Very simple, actually.